Hello, hello, my lovely gems. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. I hope that y'all are doing well. Gems, we have the Father, the One, the Self, and the Queen. I kind of feel like somebody's talking you down off of a ledge. You can be on either side of the story. You know, these are general reads. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But I feel like, you know, the Father is this idea of like being lifted up on a pedestal and then being dropped flat on your face. You know, and just kind of the way in which, especially with the Father, in the book, and I really should go back and reference this, but just from what I can recall, it is an idea of that, you know, like when we're children, we look at our parents and we don't see any of their flaws. And it's not until we are older that we start to really recognize, you know, like the struggle that any person faces in their life, you know, just like finding the balance in who they are, because no one is perfect. No one. Like, and to expect perfection of anyone is to, you know, bring judgment on yourself. It's just how it works, you know, whether it's fair or not, it is what it is, right? And I just kind of feel like, you know, I mean, and it is in a way fair because no one is perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Your neighbor's not perfect. Your best friend's not perfect. Your mother and your father aren't perfect, right? And I kind of just feel like somebody's looking at you, or you're looking at somebody else, and it's like, you're not perfect. Like, why are you coming at me as though I should be perfect? Like, you aren't perfect either. You know, I just kind of feel like this sense of like honoring the good and the bad in yourself, because everybody has good and everybody has bad. And to completely ignore our bad is to, you know, live a lie. You know, and to ask others who've experienced both our good and our bad to only acknowledge the good when you are only willing to acknowledge the bad in others is also just unrealistic. And I feel like there's this idea of, if for some reason, and it's not, I'm not even saying that you think you're perfect, because no one actually believes that. And the more people pretend to think that they're perfect, usually the more imperfect they are, right? They're just trying really hard to hide something. And it's just kind of like, I just feel like there's somebody who you're dealing with, who is just trying to get you to understand what that means. You know, because the Queen is a point of influence. Because I think that this person is somebody who's very, very important to you. Okay, gems, let's do some clarifiers. We have the Tower, the Justice, the Sun, Three of Cups, and Ace of Swords. Yeah, again, I feel like just this idea of extremes, like you can't exist in extremes. You can't put other people in extremes any more than you can put yourself in extremes. And you can't say you're only allowed to acknowledge the good and you're never allowed to acknowledge the bad, because the reality of it is that it, like, when you're dealing with people that you love, you experience every side of them, the good and the bad. And that affects them in the same way that it affects you, that you have to deal with all of their good and all of their bad, right? It's a mutual exchange in the end. It's just whether or not you can find that middle ground of saying, you know what, yeah, I'm human and you're human, and we are all doing the best that we can. And sometimes we don't do the best that we can because we're tired, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're what? Insert any number of reasons that people don't show up in their, like, as their best version. But it's kind of like it's guaranteed failure when nobody is allowed to acknowledge the extreme experiences that they've had, right? Because you can't find that middle ground unless you're allowed to acknowledge both ends of the spectrum. And maybe that's triggering for you. Maybe it's triggering for the person that you're dealing with, but it's just kind of like, instead of holding to these extremes, just acknowledge the fact that everyone is human and everyone is flawed. And if you love someone, you will absolutely experience the best of them and the worst of them. And I think that there's a level of truth in that you are starting to really, I just want to say, feel comfortable with, because I don't think I'm saying anything you don't already know, right? You know, Gems, you're brilliant, you're funny, you are analytical and bubbly, you know, like Geminis can walk into a room and just have conversations with anyone about anything. They're so dynamic. And yet, you know, Geminis are also very dualistic. And so for all of the amazing qualities that they also have very extreme antithesis to those amazing qualities. You know, I feel like of all of my signs, my gems probably live in the most extreme versions of the human experience, just from what I've noticed. But your extremes don't define your character in the end, unless you choose to accelerate an extreme sense of anything. You know what I mean? Because like the flip side of you know, like somebody who is, you know, just like an extreme in a negative way is somebody who's extreme in a positive way. And when you're extreme in a positive way and you're, you know, like you want people to look up to you and you want to be the hero and you want to be all of these things, for anybody to challenge like your authority is what I want to say, becomes a threat to the point where it feels more like a dictatorship than a partnership. And if you're dealing with people, everyone should have a voice. Everyone should be able to express what it is that they've experienced. And I feel like saying, and you need to realize that people experiencing the extremes of you doesn't mean that you only exist in that extreme. It's just a part of the personality of who you are, right? All of the many spectrums and all of the many extremes, they play out to bring the balance of who you are. And I feel like if you could just understand that and not just understand it, but like exist in it, feel it, trust in it, that it will be very rewarding to you. Where I think you once felt like there was no hope. Right? Okay, gems. I can get for y'all. The Star and the Three of Cups, the Four of Swords, the Page of Cups, the King of Swords, the Magician, and the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, I mean, for whatever this end has been that you've experienced, I really do think that it's just left you feeling really confused, because it's like, I know I'm not all bad. And I feel like it's almost like this, like you got stuck in the I'm not all bad. And it's like, well, no, you're not all bad. Of course you're not all bad. That's absurd. You know, like I think of like my ex-husband, and there are things about him that I, even to this day, like sometimes I think about and I just like giggle in my mind, because it's like, you know, only like he's the only one that would ever do something like that, you know. But I've also experienced extremes of him where I'm like, oh my God, I can't exist in this energy or this environment. And it doesn't mean that I hate him and everything about him and that I want to destroy him or tear him down. But it also, you know, like, it's a part of my story. Like, the extremes that I experienced with him are a part of the extremes that I've experienced in life that have formed the paths that I've taken. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, I feel like somebody's just trying to say to you, like, allow me to express the entirety of my experience with you without locking me into some, like, extreme idea, like how I perceive you or how I experience you. You know, because I think that that causes a lot of confusion for everyone. And I think that you are able to heal this. The Ace of Pentacles, the Three of Cups twice, the Magician. I don't know if you're healing this with, I don't know if this is like somebody new who you haven't been in a relationship with, or if it's somebody that you've been in a relationship with and you're just trying to heal this. I don't know. I don't know, because like it can play out that, you know, like that the extremes end up winning in the end, and you move in a new direction. But in this new direction, you meet somebody who, you know, like is able to kind of like talk you through these extremes, right? Which is wonderful. Again, you know, I just don't know, because I think it'll play out differently for everyone. But I think that whatever this new truth is, this new opportunity is, it might seem like a small thing, but I think that it comes with a sense of like relief and celebration. You know, celebration and relief in that there are, you know, so many things that you can still create, because you're still an intelligent person who's capable of making sound decision, and someone who has spent time working on themselves. And you just have to trust in that magic. And I just feel like release this idea of one extreme or another in an experience with you that limits you from engaging with other people. I feel like if you could just come to terms with this hurdle that you're feeling, this internal hurdle that you're experiencing, that you'll be able to see things very differently, see yourself very differently, you know, because you're not all bad and you're not all good, and any relationship that you're in, especially if it's a romantic relationship, especially if it's somebody who's very important to you, they will experience all the extremes of you as a person. You know, it's why I think it's crazy when people are like, I'm gonna run, you know, like run and jump into something right now with this person, because like, how can you know, you know, like you haven't experienced the extremes of who they are. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, but I feel like you are coming into a better understanding of yourself, because somebody is just acknowledging all the parts of you. And expressing to you, you know, like I wish that you would see yourself the way that I see you. And I wish that you didn't feel like I was only allowed to see the parts of you that you think are lovable. Because how can you heal your wounds and your trauma if you don't give people an opportunity to acknowledge like the ick that comes from that? You gotta, you know, like you gotta be able to clean that wound. But that means letting somebody get close enough to do that. And I just kind of feel like you're doing that. You're bringing a lot of healing. You're experiencing a great deal of joy. But it's just this, it feels new. It feels, and I don't know if it's a new way that you're approaching a relationship or if it's a new relationship. But whatever it is, it just feels like, I feel like you're starting to try and embody that energy of balance rather than extremes and dualities. And I think that you're having a little bit of a difficult time trusting in that. And, you know, that's okay. Sometimes you need to, you know, ease into something. But I think that once you do, you're going to be able to really make decisions to move in a new direction that are going to feel, I think you'll feel a lot more safe, because you won't feel so like vigilant to protect your bad, as though it's going to be used against you forevermore because you're a terrible person. It's like, no, like That's silly, and that's unhealthy, and that's toxic. And if you are in that type of environment, you should absolutely walk away from it. That being said, the healthy way of approaching a relationship is allowing for people to have the space to acknowledge all of the parts of you that they've experienced, you know? Because you can't ask me to love all of the good in you and demand that I ignore the bad. It's just not, it just doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't work in the end. All right, gems. Well, I hope this resonates with y'all. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Please give me a like, share, and subscribe if this video does resonate, and I will see y'all again soon. Bye.